energy drinks to the do to hold on. Hold on. What energy drinks do to the body? Ketsuya, this is for you. Let's find out.
There are a lot of different energy drinks on the market. There are 11 different varieties of Red Bull, 30 different varieties of Rockstar. There are 62 different varieties.
62 different... What? How? How is there that many of them?
Of Monster, and that's only 3 brands. There are at least 70 easily findable brands on the internet. I just had to stop counting. In today's video, with the help of the cadavers here in the lab, we're going to discuss what happens to the body when you consume an energy drink.
Oh, oh, that looked so gross. What the hell is that?
And we'll see the effect it has on the autonomic nervous system and how that will then have an effect, a cascading effect, on nearly every system in the human body. It's going to be an energetic one. Let's do this.
Are the cans open? Are they empty? They look like they're closed to me. Institute of Human Anatomy.
Let's first clarify what is and isn't an energy drink.
Okay.
Coffee is not an energy drink despite obviously having caffeine. And we're going to go into greater detail later in the video with this, but caffeine actually prevents the drowsiness signal, I guess you could say, from firing in the brain. It doesn't actually provide you with chemical energy.
Yeah, that's why you crash after.
Soda, I guess, could kind of classify as an energy drink simply because it has glucose, which is a simple carbohydrate, and glucose is used to actually make chemical energy. But if we are classifying an energy drink as a liquid beverage that has sugar in it, milk would qualify as an energy drink. And I don't know about you, but I don't feel like running a 5K after pounding a glass of whole milk. So I hate to be this guy.
I love milk. I especially love, what is it, the homogenized 3% milk? What do you mean? Oh, milk is delicious. I love it. It's so creamy and yummy.
But according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, an energy drink is typically a carbonated beverage that contains caffeine and other ingredients such as taurine and ginseng and is intended to increase the drinker's energy. So for
Okay, so unlike coffee, these do have an impact on your energy. Oh man, chocolate milk is so good. I haven't had chocolate milk in a long time. Milk helps me sleep. Oh. Then get me some too. I want some chalky milk.
our purposes today, I'm going to consider an energy drink, Monster, Rockstar, Red Bull, Full Throttle, everything you see here in front of you. Now, it's also important to mention that this video isn't meant to demonize any particular drink or brand. Honestly, there's nothing really inherently wrong with most energy drinks, but too much of a good thing will become a bad thing, no matter how good or essential that thing may have been in the first place. The problem with many energy drinks is the quantity of caffeine, sugar, and other ingredients. And then when you stack the effects of those substances onto one another, there can be some serious risks associated with them depending on a variety of factors. So if we instead look at energy drinks as something to be consumed periodically from time to time, let's say to get you through a day's work after a long night with a newborn baby, or maybe helping to find the motivation to go to the gym on a day that you just don't want to work at. Just fill in the blank.
Just fill in the blank. Have an energy drink. Drink too many energy drinks and you'll have kidney stones. Oh man, kidney stones. Oh no, actually I'm thinking of my mom, but I think she had, was it kidney stones? Or was it bladder stones? I think it was kidney stones. Yeah, you know what? It might have been kidney stones. Oh man. Oh my god, I remember she was like literally keeled over, not from energy drinks obviously, but she did have them. Ooh, you put bourbon and eggnog. Oh, that sounds yummy, actually. Did that with spiced rum. That also sounds yummy. Oh. You know, I'm actually not the biggest, like, I'm not the biggest fan of eggnog. I can have like a small glass of it, but I can't drink a whole lot. Like it's very rich tasting to me or whatever. I was almost with kidney problems due to too much milk per day. Oh my god. We get pumpkin spice whipped cream too. What? Pumpkin spice whipped cream. Oh my goodness.
I don't know that that should bother us all that much. Caffeine in itself is not bad. Too much caffeine can be very bad for you. Sugar, despite what the internet will tell you, in and of itself is not bad, but too much sugar can be very...
Look at those donuts. They look so good. My parents didn't like eggnog, so I never had it until about a year ago. I think it's delicious. Definitely a dessert drink. Yeah, it's more like a dessert. I can only have a little bit of it. Wait, what prevents the formation of kidney stones? Beer? Beer prevents the formation of kidney stones? What? Hold on, gotta look this up. Beer consumption was inversely associated with risk of kidney stones. Each bottle of beer consumed per day was estimated to reduce risk by 40%? What? No way! Liver damage over kidney stones. Let's go. Let's go.
very, very bad for you. How
Donuts.
much is too much depends on the substance as well as the individual partaking it. This is important to understand that toxicity and health consequences on the whole are about the dose, not about the substance itself. The problem as I see it with energy drinks really comes down to the quantity, frequency, and timing with which they're consumed, as well as the demographics that are most likely to consume them. But if you're the type of person that can have an energy drink every once in a while, again, I don't really see a big problem with that, generally speaking. But if you're eating a ton of highly processed foods, not exercising, or have other serious health concerns, adding even one energy drink honestly may just compound the problems you already have.
No, I have my gamer subs. I have like whatever you want to call it there. I have one gamer subs every morning. And that's it. There's a guy I work with who drinks like 4 energy drinks a day and doesn't eat anything. Oh my gosh. Katsuya, no. My friend has 7 a day. Oh my gosh. Holy shit. They're gonna like... No, you guys need to stop drinking so many. What the hell?
In my mind, the questions we really need to be asking ourselves are things like, should children and teenagers be having energy drinks at all? Should pre-diabetics, hypoglycemics, or anyone who suffers from metabolic syndrome be having energy drinks at all? Should those who lead a sedentary lifestyle? You see where I'm going with this. I think we can have more...
Not the lady on the toilet. What the hell?
Focused and nuanced questions that we're asking instead of just broadly saying, are energy drinks bad for us? Now, before we see what happens...
You'll ever like that on the toilet? You're just like, and you're like dying.
to the body when you consume an energy drink. I think this is a good time to discuss the sponsor of today's video, AG1. AG1 has been sponsoring our channel for a little over a year and a half now, and their nutritional drink is something that both Jonathan and I truly believe in. I drink it each and every morning, and I would continue to do so even if they stopped sponsoring our channel. I believe in it that much. AG1 is comprehensive daily nutrition. It's made up of 75 high-quality, whole food sourced ingredients,
what is with the eye dropper?
which includes vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens.
Athletic
and I want to be
greens.
clear here. If you're the type of person that enjoys the occasional energy drink, you're more
Literally
than welcome to consume this as well. It's not
instantly
as though they're
like
mutually
tasted
exclusive.
grass
I
in my mouth.
personally use AG1 as a replacement for my daily multivitamin, and given how easy it is to consume, the added benefits are just icing on the cake. All you do is take 1 scoop, add it to 8 ounces of water.
Oh my God, it
shake
even
up.
looks
This is
like
easily
grass.
my favorite part.
Oh, that looks nasty. I
Take
don't
a
know,
drink, and then you're
like.
just going to carry on with your day. Look, I'm the type of guy that is all about effortless daily habits. So knowing that a significant amount of my daily nutrition has been taken care of first thing in the morning is a huge weight off my shoulders. If you're interested, visit athleticgreens.com/humananatomy, and they're going to give our audience a 1
Well, there
year
you go,
free
Lem. If
supply
you
of
want to try it and you want
immune-supporting
a
vitamin
discount.
D3 plus K2 and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go ahead and find that link in the description below. Again, it's impossible to discuss every ingredient that comes with the many different types of energy drinks, which is why we're going to be primarily focusing on the compounding effects that caffeine and sugar have on the nervous system. But that also means that there's a bunch of other substances that are going to be layered on top of the caffeine and sugar that are also going to be affecting various parts of the body, such as the digestive system, urinary system, and respiratory system. The primary, and some may argue the fundamental ingredient in an energy drink is going to be caffeine.
Yeah.
Now, the exact amount of caffeine varies actually quite widely depending on the drink itself, but many of them will add an additional source of caffeine in the form of guarana extract, which has twice the concentration of a coffee bean.
Yeah, isn't energy drinks usually like 2 to 3 cups of coffee or more? I think it's like so much caffeine. He's only talking about energy drinks in the Ketsuya. Coping. Guarana poisonous? Is guarana poisonous? Guarana can be poisonous if taken in high doses or for long periods of time. Okay. So the answer is yes. Guarana contains caffeine, and doses over 400 milligrams per day can cause side effects like insomnia, nervousness, stomach irritation, vomiting, heart palpitations, headaches, seizures, and anxiety. Hello, Bear! Welcome in! So yes, let's put guarana in our energy drink. Sounds like a very good idea.
Caffeine is consumed, it blocks adenosine receptors in the brain. So what you're looking at here
Look, that is disgusting, bro. And this looks like spaghetti.
is a right hemisphere of the human brain. So this highly folded portion is going to be the cerebrum. And then this down here is what's known as the cerebellum. Then if I flip it over, you can see the brainstem as it transitions into a central core of the brain, which we actually call the diencephalon. But adenosine receptors are proteins that are going to be found all throughout the brain, all throughout the cells inside of the brain. And the molecule adenosine is what is going to bind to them, to absolutely no surprise. Now, when adenosine binds to an adenosine receptor, it actually sends a signal that the brain, or rather it contributes to the brain's sensation and perception of feeling drowsy. So what will happen is caffeine will come in there and actually plug up the receptor, right? It fits into the receptor, but it doesn't activate it. And by not activating it, the brain doesn't receive that drowsy signal. And so you then are feeling left feeling, I should say, energized, despite not actually being given any energy. You just don't feel drowsy. But here's the problem. The caffeine will wear off. And when it does, the adenosine that has been getting produced all throughout the brain's tissue is going to pile onto those receptors.
And then you'll crash.
And when it does, just picture this. Just picture signals like shoo, 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 all these zooming signals going throughout the brain saying, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call the crash, or that energetic crash. It's interesting to note that adenosine receptors aren't only found inside of the human brain, but instead they're actually found all throughout the body, including the digestive and urinary tracts, which helps explain why caffeine has such far-reaching effects on the body. But the presence of caffeine will actually be detected by an area here in the brain called the hypothalamus. So you're actually looking at a mid-sagittal section of a human head. But The hypothalamus is almost like the bridge between the nervous system and the endocrine system. And what it does, it actually does a lot of different things, but for our purposes, it's going to be involved in homeostasis, which is essentially
Okay.
a baseline for the human body that you are either deviating from or coming towards. So you think like body temperature, right? No one's really ever sitting and coasting at perfect normal body temp. You're either going above or you're going below, or if you do hit it, it's very temporary. But the point is, there is a baseline, and the hypothalamus is more or less trying to figure out how do we get to that, or when should we go away from it.
Okay. Okay. I like this channel. I learn. I'm trying to have a mix of like educational things, rage-inducing things, cool animal sounds. We need to have a good mix, right? Like it can't just be all the same, right? I hope it's just plastic. Oh man, the friggin' brain looks so nasty. It looks so nasty.
But it will actually detect caffeine. And when it detects the caffeine, that's when it will communicate to this structure right here known as the pituitary gland. And it will tell the pituitary gland to start, or it's really to communicate with the adrenal glands and to start producing.
Bro, I feel like I had a high school flashback when he said pituitary, pituitary gland. High school flashbacks. Science.
Epinephrine and norepinephrine, which most people know as adrenaline or noradrenaline. Let's now discuss sugar, but to be fair, many energy drinks don't come with sugar and instead come with artificial sweeteners.
Okay.
However, many of those artificial sweeteners will still have some kind of effect on the same structures and pathways we're about to discuss, although that effect does definitely seem to be more limited. However, the artificial sweetener sucralose doesn't seem to have really any direct effect on the brain, but instead will affect the pancreas and overall insulin sensitivity. Researchers have found that consuming glucose up to 10 days after sucralose can actually decrease insulin sensitivity and have an effect on overall glucose metabolism. And it has been shown to have an effect on the brain's ability to perceive sweetness. But let's say it does have sugar. The sugar will be detected.
What? So sucralose can like make you think something sweeter than it actually is? If I'm if my brain is processing correctly. Also, we have ads starting in 15 seconds. So we will wait. Makes you think it's less sweet than it actually is. Oh, okay, that would probably make more sense. Ads are over. Let's go.
Detected by taste cells here on the surface of the tongue as well as on the surface of the epiglottis, this cartilaginous flap that helps protect the airway during swallowing. But that will then relay the information to the brain.
What the hell?
You can actually see a portion of the brain hiding behind this thick connective tissue called the falx cerebri. Now, deep in the brain is going to be a structure known as the striatum, and unfortunately we can't see that here in any of the dissections we have in the lab. But the striatum belongs to a larger set of structures known as the basal ganglia. And the striatum, if this wasn't enough, can be further broken down into what's known as the nucleus accumbens as well as the olfactory tubercle.
Are you guys understanding all of You guys understanding all of this? I totally am. Totally.
Now, the striatum is involved in the
I thrived inside
reward system of the body, and dopamine plays an enormous role in that processing. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter and a neuromodulator that's involved in a wide variety of functions. In fact, we can and should make an entire video on dopamine alone. But for our purposes today, you can think of dopamine being involved in pleasure, joy, and just overall sense of euphoria, which is exactly what you get when you take a bite of something very sugary. Sugar is also broken down in the liver into glucose and fructose.
Yes, that's why that's why a lot of people who can become overweight, that's why they're like, oh, because like I eat as my comfort because it makes you happy.
And that fructose can be then converted into fat and stored directly in the liver, or the glucose can be stored in the form of glycogen, again, directly in the liver. Or the glucose and fat can be put into the bloodstream and then be used as fuel sources for other cells, or they can also
Wow.
be stored in adipose tissue throughout the body. But before the sugar even gets to the liver, it's actually, or can be, broken down by bacteria in the digestive system. And this is really, really interesting because recent data has shown an association between sugar metabolization from those bacteria and metabolic syndrome, and get this, neurodegenerative disorders such as Alzheimer's. It's possible that the gut bacteria can actually influence the brain through the peripheral nervous system through the byproducts of sugar metabolism.
What?
Now, to be clear, there is a ton of work that still needs to be done on this to figure out the exact relationship, the mechanism of action, the exact circumstances in which this happens. So I don't want you to go grab your pitchfork as of yet and come for sugar, although I'm sure the comment section is filled with people who've had their pitchforks ready for a while, and some of them who have already, used it a few times.
Yeah, so is he saying if you drink a lot of energy drinks, you could be at a higher risk for dementia? What?
Just understand that when we do figure out exactly how this works, it's likely going to be very conditional and circumstantial. And it's not as though sugar is ready to be demonized and said, like, it's always bad all the time, no matter what. But I will
No, only too much of it.
admit, sugar becomes far more suspect as the days go by. Let's now have a discussion around what's known as the autonomic nervous system, which you can think of as the automatic nervous system. Now, this
Okay.
isn't the best analogy. I'm not a software or computer engineer, but I like to think of it as the software to the nervous system's hardware. And what I mean by that is, say, like the brain, the spinal cord, the nerves, those are the hardware, right? That's the physical nervous system.
Okay.
This would be kind of like a program running in the background. It's probably not the best analogy, but at least it works for me. Now, it can be further subdivided into what's known as the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay. I remember seeing something about Alzheimer's patients or dementia patients really liking sweet foods. It's all starting to make sense now. We gotta stop consuming sugar. We're gonna forget everything. Maybe that's why my memory's getting so bad over time. Because I'm eating too many sweets. Oh my god. Fluffles. You can't have cake anymore. Or brownies. And I had a brownie today. Oh my god. That's why I keep forgetting where I put my money. Holy shit. The revelation.
And you probably know these by other names. The parasympathetic is most commonly known as the rest and digest, while the sympathetic nervous system is commonly known as the fight or flight. Now, the reason why we're talking about these at all is going to be because of epinephrine and norepinephrine. And if you recall, we just learned that they are produced by the adrenal glands in response to caffeine consumption.
Okay.
Now, I also want you to understand that while epinephrine and norepinephrine are responsible, these are the neurotransmitters and hormones that are going to be responsible for all of the effects here in the sympathetic nervous system, it's not as though they don't cause an effect in the parasympathetic nervous system, despite acetylcholine being the neurotransmitter that's actually going to be responsible for them. And the reason why that's the case is because you're not always in one or the other, right? It's not as though you're just in a sympathetic or just in a parasympathetic. You're actually in like this fluid state moving between the two. Unless, of course, you're in some horrifying scenario, which is actually the easiest way to teach these. So when I'm in the classroom teaching this to my students, I have to say, like, pretend I'm just slathered in bacon grease.
Oh. Oh, gross. Oh, gross. Can you imagine? Bacon grease. But if you cook your eggs in bacon grease, oh my god, it's so good.
A hungry grizzly bear comes through the door. What is my body going to do in response to this horrifying event? Now, I also want to make note that this is not like an ordered list in the sense like this happens, and this happens, and this happens. It's just showing you all the various effects. So my pupils are obviously going to dilate, right? There's going to be that moment where it's like, oh crap, as the grizzly bear is coming after me. But I'm also going to have my saliva production be inhibited. There's not much use to drooling at the mouth when a grizzly is attacking me. And again, we don't even have to have this maximal hardcore version of the sympathetic response. If you're in a fight, it makes sense to conserve the water in your body, possibly for sweat production. And it's actually here at the bottom because I should have put it up here, but I forgot. So you're actually going to be producing sweat in a sympathetic response. So it makes sense you want to conserve that water, and salivating doesn't make a ton of sense.
Okay.
You're also going to have what's called bronchial dilation. So the bronchial, that is in reference to the airway, the respiratory tubes inside of the lungs. And what's going to happen, and this also makes a ton of sense, is they're going to dilate, right? You want to get as much oxygen into the body as possible to supply all your musculoskeletal structures that are going to be working pretty hard here.
Yeah.
Now this next one is going to sound different than it actually is. The bladder relaxation does not mean you are urinating your pants. I mean, that may happen, right? I'm not going to pretend like that's not going to happen to me if a grizzly is coming at me as I'm slathered in bacon grease. But what's the opposite of relaxation? It's actually contraction. And if the bladder, if you think of it like a balloon, if it's contracting, that would actually cause urinating, but that's like the micturition reflex. So the bladder relaxation here is you're actually not going to urinate, which again makes a ton of sense. All right, next we have intestine inhibition. Now this is
all stuff, I always hear, like, if you're, like, running and you're like, oh my God, I'm dying. But if, like, something was chasing you and you were terrified, you'd be able to run for a lot longer than you would just normally, because it's like your flight or fight response.
This is actually going to be saying blood flow essentially is going to be diverted away from your digestive system, because it doesn't make sense to finish digesting your lunch, right? If I had a massive burrito and then the grizzly's coming after me, I don't need to work on that burrito in the moment. So blood is going to start going away from my digestive system, and that's a really good thing, because it's then going to be going to the musculoskeletal system, right? If we're going away from the core, we're going to be then going to the periphery, and that's going to be going to the musculoskeletal system. And then we're also going to have an increase in heart rate.
Yeah.
Now this is obvious because it needs to be able to supply the musculoskeletal system. But what's interesting is this is primarily driven by epinephrine, while the rest of these are going to be primarily driven by norepinephrine.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting how the body breaks that down. And then this last one is probably going to be a little surprising to you. It's not really relevant to this discussion, but it's interesting to talk about. The erectile tissue are going to have a decrease in blood flow. So think like the clitoris, think the penis. So maybe we could put it this way. In a parasympathetic response,
the pee-pee is going to retract into the body.
the erectile tissue are going to have an increase in blood flow. And this may seem counterintuitive, because like if you think about it from like a sexual arousal standpoint, you may think like, ooh, if I'm aroused, I'm going to be in a fight or flight response, right? My heart rate's going to be going up. But again, you're not in one or the other. And so it's possible to have an increase in heart rate while still having a decrease in blood flow to the erectile tissues. And there's a whole lot of nuance to this. And Jonathan did an entire video around erections. It's really interesting and fascinating, so I encourage everyone to check that out. But the reason why we're bringing all this up is to show the wide-ranging effects that epinephrine and norepinephrine can have on the body, right? So drinking caffeine, and you can think the more caffeine you consume or the lower your tolerance, how all of this plays out, you can see how these can have different effects. But at the same time, there's only so much you can do with them, right? Your pupils can only dilate so much. There's only so much saliva inhibition you can have, right? The bronchioles can only dilate so much. The one that's really interesting is going to be the increase in heart rate.
So, okay. If my brain is computing properly here, when you drink energy drinks, you're getting the epinephrine and the epinephrine and the norepinephrine. And so the drinking the energy drinks is causing your sympathetic nervous system to sort of like go through all of these things that you would normally go through in a fight or flight response. That's what I'm gathering.
Because that can just keep on going to the point where you can actually find yourself in a very scary situation and maybe going into cardiac arrest. Again, that's extremely high levels of caffeine, but at the same time, it's not as though we don't want to view these in isolation, right? Again, we want to look at the whole person. What is their body like? were they already in poor cardiovascular health? And when you start stacking these effects onto one another, you can see that it's a lot easier to get into a problematic state, right, if you're in a state of malhealth to begin with, and then you're taking the energy drink. So again, just kind of understand that this is going to affect pretty much everything, all right? We're talking the eyes, the mouth, the lungs, the urinary system, and your bladder, your digestive system, and the intestines, the heart. It even affects your reproductive system. So when you're having an energy drink, it's not as though it's just going to your brain and making you feel more alert.
Oh, so essentially, yeah, he's saying the energy drinks are kind of putting your body into that flight or fight response.
It's having far-reaching consequences all throughout the body. Let's now see if we can put this all together into one nice, neat package for you. Given everything that we've discussed, I'm hopeful you now understand that consuming an energy drink when you have a sedentary lifestyle, or you suffer from metabolic syndrome such as Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, or if you're going through puberty, is probably not the best idea. Although a lot of the problems we've discussed aren't unique to energy drinks, and instead they come with excessive caffeine and sugar intake in general. However, energy drinks are easy to find, purchase, consume, and they come with high amounts of caffeine, sugar, artificial sweeteners, and other substances, and all those substances, they get stacked on top of each other, or at least their effects do. And in my mind, that sets you up for some substantial risk. And I haven't even touched on the potential dependency-related aspects of consuming energy drinks.
Yeah.
I myself was dependent upon them in my early 20s. My go-to was Monster. I used to drink 2 or 3 of these per day.
Oof.
And I loved them. Like, even now, just holding the can, like, I can start to feel, you know, like a desire just starting to come through to open this thing and to drink it right now. But I haven't had it since I decided to quit. And I decided
It's slowly calling his name. Drink me. Drink me.
to quit because I remember I found myself in a situation where I couldn't have my Monster. And I started to have all the telltale signs of dependency. I started sweating, I started feeling anxious and panicked. And despite at this point in my life not having any medical or anatomical knowledge, I knew that was bad. I knew that wasn't a good position to be in. And so I decided to stop right then and there. And I haven't had an energy drink since that point in time. I have just learned that I'm not the type of person that could consume these in moderation. And that's just the fact of the matter. If you are, all the power to you. But if you're like me, or if you suffer from any of the circumstances and conditions that we discussed earlier, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's probably best that you speak with your doctor and figure out for yourself if these things have a place in your diet. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to click the link in the description below and start your AG1 journey today. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I'll see you in the next video.
Oh, man. 3 a week, I think that's fine. I have one every morning. I have like one every morning. I think he means if you're having, like, he was having 3 a day, he said. So if you're having it in excess. So basically, to put this into grade school terms, if you're consuming a lot of energy drinks, they're pretty much like forcing your body into a fight or flight response. I like how I understood almost nothing through half the video. My brain was exploding until the end when I finally put everything together, when he was explaining the sympathetic nervous system, and then I was like, oh. Okay.